Hello and welcome back to the channel of Motorbike Nonsense. A couple of weeks ago I did my first impressions review of this, the new Triumph Tiger 1200, and I thought it was one of the sportier adventure bikes you can buy. So I want to do a very quick video, that's this video, comparing it to my current actual favourite adventure bike, the 1290 Super Adventure S from KTM. This is my very own bike. So it's going to be a quick video. I'm going to compare them on looks, price, technology, comfort, ergos and foibles, because neither bike is perfect. And yes, I know that Tiger has a 21-inch front wheel, but it's just the one that Triumph sent me, so ignore the fact this one's got 19. We're going to roll with it. Anyway, let's go. Yes, in terms of price, this Tiger Rally Explorer is £19,100. It's a top of the range one, it's the off-roady one. An equivalent version to my KTM would be the GT Pro, which is about 16 grand. This has basically everything as standard. The crash bars, the heated seats, the heated grips, loads of stuff. The only options on this are the luggage. So what is this costing, this top box? This is £370 for a 42 litre top box. The rack for that is £144. This has £700 of panniers, which I haven't got on it because I hate panniers, and the racks, which are £252 for the panniers. So yeah, basically, for 19 grand, you do get everything apart from luggage. Now let's roll over to the KTM. This is £15,600 as standard, but you're gonna wanna put the £1,100 tech pack on to give you your quick shifter, your anti-wheelie, your rally mode, all the fun stuff. So it's basically the same price as a GT Pro, one of those. Top box on this cost me £500, I think. It is a Touratech one, it's really good. It's a bit cheeky, you have to pay 400 quid for the little backrest bit, and obviously the rack is about 100 quid as well. I've added a heated seat, which is £180, plus £20 to have it activated by a dealer because it's software-y, so you can do all that kind of stuff. I put some orange tarty bits on it, I put the tank protectors on it, I've got a screen protector. Yeah, it's pretty standard. I will put an exhaust on it at some point, but yes, similar price to an equivalent Tiger is what I'm trying to say. If you want the off-road one of these with a 21-inch front wheel, that's £1,000 more for the KTM Super Adventure R, and that loses the radar cruise control, which, by the way, you can't get at all on the Tiger. The Tiger looks like this. The KTM looks like this. Now, both these bikes are packed with electronic features, but very quickly, you've got basic cruise control on this. There is no radar cruise control like on the KTM, but you do have a rear radar thing, so you've got blind spot monitoring, which you don't have on the KTM. So yeah, there is a slight difference there. You've got electrically adjustable shower suspension on this, and you've got heated grips as standard on the GT Pro and Rally Pro, which are a similar price to the KTM, which does not have heated grips as standard, £200, and you've got to get the dealer to activate them. KTM loves doing that. One of the best things about this bike is the manually adjustable screen, which is really effective even if you're 6'3" like me, and you can do it one hand, and that's actually a bit easier than the mechanism on the KTM. Speaking of the KTM, well done, cameraman. So over here I have radar cruise control, which you set using this button and these flappy paddles down here. I've got a 7-inch screen, which isn't going to turn on, maybe it is, no it's not, which is the same size as the one on the Triumph, but it looks a lot better and it's far clearer and easier to use. Maybe it's just because I'm used to it, but I prefer the screen on this, and it's just easier to use. Got a big cursor thing up here rather than the tiny diddy one on the Triumph. Other little things I like about this bike as opposed to the Triumph are this little custom switch here. You kind of poke it forward and back, and you can set that to do different things. So I've got mine to change the riding modes, and then to change my seat heating and my heated grips. Now the screen you can adjust one-handed, you can do it from either side using this little rotatey thing, but it's not as quick to use as the one on the Triumph, and the screen isn't as good at clearing the area of my head as the one on the Triumph. So in terms of electronic features, they're pretty similar, to be honest. However, you can slacken off the anti-wheelie and traction control on this without turning it fully off, something you can't really do on the Triumph. It's got preset sport or road traction control modes. On this, you've got 9 stages of traction control, and once you're about traction stage 4 in rally mode, it'll do this lot. which I like. The Triumph wants to do that, but its electronic nannies from Hinckley won't let it, unless you turn it fully off. My cameraman's using a gimbal for the first time and he's fascinated by it. But in terms of the Ergos, step back a few paces, cameraman, please. This is a very comfortable riding position on the Tiger 1200. I've done some big motorway miles on this in complete comfort. The screen really helps, just clears the air. However, this is 261 kilos when it's kind of got some fuel in it. It doesn't at the moment, and it's all carried up high. I'm 6'3" and I've struggled sometimes with this, especially if you've got a slightly tight gusset to the trouser region. So it can feel unwieldy if you're stopping on uneven surfaces, etc, etc. So yeah, be a little bit cautious. The seat height is 875mm on this low setting, 895mm on the higher seat setting. You pay £195 for a slightly lower heated seat as well. And if you get the non-rally one, the seat height is 850mm. Have you remembered all these numbers? There will be a test at the end. But anyway, let's hop onto the KTM, which is much more approachable. The KTM Super Adventure S is 245 kilos wet, but bear in mind this has got a 7 litre smaller tank than that. The equivalent version of this in Triumph land has only got a 20 litre tank and it weighs a tiny bit more than this. And also, because my fuel tanks in this are down here on each side, the weight is carried low, and you really do notice that when you hop between that and this with a similar amount of fuel. This was a lot easier to manage at low speeds. The seat height on this is between 849 and 869mm, and there are lower and higher options. This is actually a higher seat in a low position, because I'm kinky. Foibles. The Tiger has a few foibles. The first one is the mirrors. They are really vibey at 70 miles an hour, 75 miles an hour, and they just go a bit blurry, and it is an engine problem because if you pull the clutch in, they clear up again. Those vibes also extend to the handlebars. I rode 200 odd miles on the motorway on this the other day. I actually got numb hands. Basically at 85 miles an hour, which obviously is not a speed you should ever do in the UK, you will get slightly numb hands, or at least I did. And I don't normally notice those things. I've ridden S1000 XRs, the BMW that's famous having vibes. Didn't bother me. This bothers me. Other foibles. This little switch control what goes on the dashboard is quite fiddly and annoying to use with gloves on. It's the same on every other Triumph. But hey, the biggest foible though is the aforementioned weight top heaviness conundrum. It just makes me feel a bit nervous paddling it around. I'm usually a confident tall bloke on a bike. But let's look at the KTM, because that isn't perfect either. KTM foibles. There are a few things about my own bike which do annoy me. The quick shifter can be a bit clunky up and down. It's not as smooth as the one on the Triumph. Also, I won't call it the death weave because I'll probably get libelled by KTM. But at speeds that you wouldn't ever do on UK roads, this does get a proper weave on above a number that starts with a 1, then has a 1, then a 5. I tried it on a private runway the other day and it took me almost into the other lane. So high speed stability is a little bit concerning on this. I know previous models of KTM Super Adventures have had this problem. Apparently if you wind the preload up, which is very easy to do in the menus, it goes away, but I don't want to go very fast on this, which is fine. We're on the road, we're legal bruvs here. Other things, it's too many menus to get the heated grips and heated seat. Sure, I've got a custom button, but you still then have to use these cursors to switch it, then go back to go to the main screen. It's a little bit too faffy. There's probably a shorter way to do it, maybe putting a heated grip button up here or something like that. It's crazy talk, I know. Otherwise, that's pretty much it for my foibles on this bike. Oh yeah, the screen isn't quite good enough for a 6'3" bloke. I'm getting a little extender thing sent out to have a go with that. I think that'll perfect it for me. It might sound like I'm being massively down on the Tiger 1200, but it does pretty much everything else really, really well. This new T-Plane 1160cc triple is stonking. It sounds like a V4 at high revs. It sounds like a V2 low down. And it has got grunt for days, as I believe the kids say. Obviously, the only downside is the vibes, which we've spoken about, and the fact that I kick it all the time and get mud on the clutch cover, which is just disgusting, frankly. It's more comfortable on long distances than the KTM. This seat is just a bit better, and the Ergos are slightly more relaxed than the KTM as well. It's a bit less supermoto-y. What else do I prefer about it? I've said the noise, I've said the comfort. I'm gonna get my phone out and check. Oh yes, it's more stable feeling at high speeds. It's quicker turning, despite the fact it's got a 21-inch front wheel. The chassis on this feels more stable mid-corner as well than the KTM. That's a little bit flighty. And the final one, if I get my invisible bifocals, the screen, which I've spoken about at great length. But anyway, let's talk about what the KTM does better than the Triumph. Now the KTM does loads of stuff really well as well. I love this bike, it's the best bike I've ever owned. The engine is more exciting than the one on the Triumph. In terms of instant acceleration and thrust, you can't beat a big twin with pistons the size of that cow's udders. It is amazing. It's a really exciting bike to ride. Wheelies out of every corner, wheelies in every mode. The Triumph doesn't really, unless you turn everything off, as I've said, do little cheeky ones. This does, and you don't have to be a wheelie god to do them either, because it's got your back, because you've still got traction control on. Yeah, I just prefer its general vibe, if that makes sense. It's a bit less serious, it's a bit more comical, and it does some other things better than the Triumph as well, which I've forgotten, which are on my phone. It is less vibey OMG, I've written on my phone. It is less vibey than the supposedly smooth triple. Big twin, smoother than the triple. Triumph, I think you've cocked up somewhere along the lines there. More grin-inducing. The weight is notably lower down, making it more manageable at low speeds, and I prefer the switch gear on this. It's a bit more spaced out and a bit clearer to use. And yeah, in terms of build quality, I would say they're pretty equal. There are plasticky bits of this, there are plasticky bits of that. This actually feels better bolted together, weirdly. So that was a very quick comparison of the Tiger 1200 and the KTM 1290 Super Adventure S. Which would I buy? Well, the one I bought, the KTM. I don't really regret buying that. For me, it's just more of a hooligan bike, which is what I want. I want a mixture of comfort and your hair being on fire and the front wheel being up there. Does it better than any bike I've ever ridden? Now, that's not to say the Triumph is bad, it is astonishing. Like, Triumph has really kind of knocked it out of the park with this. That engine is phenomenal as well. I kind of want to put it in there sometimes, but it's more comfortable, it's a bit more grown up, it is a lot more top heavy, and I have to be a bit more careful doing my U-turns and things like that. If you're a lanky git, you'll be all right, but I'm quite lanky and only just about all right. I think it's a very, very good bike, but those vibes, that weight, that'd make me go to my KTM dealer and say, can I have a 1290 Super Adventure S? Preferably a pre-reg one from last year, because you'll save about £4 like I did. But that's probably not what I'm meant to be saying right now. Thank you for watching. If this video has been helpful, please hit like. Thank you to my cameraman Tom for pointing cameras at me all day. And I'll see you next time, when I won't be standing between two beautiful, not beautiful, but lovely to ride adventure bikes. Waffle, waffle. See you next time. Go down to the comments and call me whatever the Austro-British word for grass is. Goodbye. Are we doing every video like this now?